4 times 9.
36.
Yeah, we have 36 mics that can fit in our rack space. Then we had to add an extra, so it was like 30. It was like 30, or 39 or 40 total. I wish I did not go for that.
All right.
You guys.
All right. So today we are going to learn the laws of sine and cosine. You already did these in geometry, but probably you forgot. So let's go back over these. So if you have a triangle and it does not have a 90-degree angle, then it is considered oblique. Okay. So if you ever hear the word oblique, that just means it's not a right triangle. So it can only be one or the other. If it has a right angle, it's a right triangle. If it doesn't, it's oblique. Oblique triangles, given that they do not have a right angle, they cannot use Pythagorean theorem. So it says Pythagorean theorem and the other 6 trig functions cannot be used on that type of triangle. Okay, however, you still have to have some way to find the sides of the triangle. And that's where law of sines and cosines come in. For the law of sines, the sine of A over little a equals the sine of B over little b equals the sine of C over little c. Okay, so if you'll write that down. Now, obviously for equations, usually you don't have multiple equal signs. So what I want you to think about is you're going to pick and choose. Either you're going to let A equal B, or you could let A equal C. Okay, but you're not ever going to have all 3 of them in the same equation when you're actually solving. So I'll show you what I mean by that. But the first thing I do want to point out to you is that on your triangles, if you'll just look at this first example, okay, any capital letters are going to refer to angles. And then any lowercase letters are going to be referring to the sides length. Okay. Oh, Kenny, will you get me a calculator and get yourself one too? Okay. So on the triangle, you'll notice that capital A, thank you, is here. And then little a is across from it. Okay, that will always be the case. Same thing that I have capital B over here. And then I have little b across from it. Okay, so your triangle should always have capital A and little a across from each other. Same for C, same for B. All right, so you are going to start your equation with the letter that you know both the angle and the side. So looking at this triangle, let's do A first. Do I have the angle or the side? Yes or no? Angle and side. Do we know like how long they are? No, right? Now let's do B. Do I know the angle? Do I know the side? Then I'm going to start there. So B, what I'm going to call it is going to be the partner that I have, where I have the angle and the side for B. So I'm going to do sine B over B, where capital B is 56 and little b is 6. Okay, then I'm going to look for the other set of partners where I know either the angle or the side. I don't have to have both, but I have to have one of them. Now remember that for A, I didn't have either one. But for C, what do I have? Side C or angle C?
Angle C.
So I'm going to do sine 42 over C. Notice I'm using the little c because that's referring to a side length. Capital C would refer to an angle. Okay, from here, you're going to cross multiply. Now, before you do this, I want you to double check that your calculator is in degree mode. If it's in radian mode, we talked about this last class, your answer is going to come out wrong. So in your calculator, hit the mode button, okay, right here next to second, and you should see that your degree is in the black box. If it is, you're good to go. You can hit second quit to return to your normal screen. So mode, my degree is already in the box, so I'm going to second quit. Okay, let's multiply. So I have sine 56 times c. So I'm just going to write that down. Sine 56c equals. And then in the other diagonal, using my calculator, I'm going to multiply 6 times the sine of 42. 6 times sine 42. Okay, and it comes out to 4.015. Technically, it's a 4, but followed by a 7, we're going to round it. Okay, from here, remember, sine 56 is just a number. We don't know what the number is, but we know it's a number. And it's currently multiplied by c. So if I want to get c by itself, how will I get rid of this? Divide not by c, but by sine 56. Very good. And then in the calculator, I'm going to take my 4.10 blah, blah, blah number. Notice I'm grabbing the actual value and I'm going to divide it by sine 56. And that will give me c equals 4.843. And that would be this missing side here. So we know now that c is 4.843. Okay. Now you will have completely solved a triangle, okay, when you have found all the sides and all the angles. So if you look at your instructions right here, it says solve the triangle below. That means find the length of all the sides and the measures of all the angles. So right now I have 2 sides, but I'm missing the third one. And I have 2 angles, but I'm missing the third one. You should know that in a triangle, all the angles have to add up to a special number. What number is it? 180. Very good. So if I want to find this last angle A, I'm going to put to find angle A. I'm going to do 180, and then I'm going to minus the other 2 numbers. Okay, because remember, if they're all supposed to add up to 180 degrees, then if I start with that, take out the angles that I have, then whatever's left had to be an angle B. Or I think I said that wrong, but you get the idea. So minus 56 minus 42. That means my leftover angle has how many degrees? 82, very good. Okay, and now, remember, I have to have part of the partner. Now that I know big A, that will let me find little a. So we're going to start off our equation the same way that we started this one. I'm going to use sine 56 over 6. But then when I set it equal, if I'm trying to find little a, I need to make sure that my sine has a capital A in it, which is my 82. So I'll put sine 82 over little a. And then we'll solve it basically the same way. So when I cross multiply, sine 56 times A is sine 56 times A. Nothing to do there. But then in the other diagonal, I'm going to actually use my calculator to do 6 times sine 82. So in your calculator, you're going to multiply this diagonal. So 6 times sine 82 gives me 5.942. 5.942. Okay, then from there, my A has a sine 56 multiplied with it. So I'm going to divide that sine 56 across. And that'll tell me whatever A would have had to be. So grab the number, divide by sine 56. And it's 7.166. So we'll round that to 7.167. Okay, the other thing I will tell you as we get into more into this triangles unit, almost all of these triangles I just like pulled off of Google. So they're not drawn to scale. So don't be like, well, wait, how is this one 4 when it's longer than 6? I did not pay attention to that when I Google imaged pictures of triangles. So they're not drawn to scale pretty much forever.
So that's why the numbers are so different and it looks the same.
Yes, correct. Is that this is just a stock triangle off the wall. All right, go ahead and turn the page. Okay, we have another triangle. First thing I want to point out to you is that the letters should match across the triangle from each other. So, for example, I see that my corner A needs to be across from side A, which means that 7 goes with letter little a. What letter should go with 4? Which one? C, because if C is down here, then little c has to be across from it. And then I have B here across from B there. So first question, out of the A, the B, and the C, which one do I have the side and the angle partners for? A is correct. So I'm going to do the sine of 88 over the side 7, because this is capital A and this is little a. Okay, then I want to look for a side that I know either one or the other. And I noticed that actually for B and C, I have a side. So which one do we want to find first? It doesn't matter. B sounds good. So then I'll do sine big B over little b, which is how many? 6. Very good. And then we're going to cross multiply. This diagonal first has the b in it. So 7 times sine b is going to be 7 sine b. But for the other diagonal, because there's no b in it, I'm going to times it in the calculator. So in your calculator, do the sine of 88. Make sure you close the parentheses before you times with the 6. Okay, if you do not close that parentheses on the 88, it'll be wrong. So I got 5.996. Okay, next thing I need to do is get my sine by itself. There's a 7 in the front. How can I get rid of that times 7? 5. So now I have the sine of b is 5.996 over 7. Okay, we just learned last class how to get rid of the sign in front of the b. What do? Do you remember? Inverse or second sign on your calculator. Do you remember that? So we're going to do sin negative 1, sin negative 1. And remember that inverse sign cancels out regular sign. So all I'm going to be left with is b equals, and then I'll put that into the calculator. So in your calculator, do second sign, 7 divide by, and then just pick that same long decimal. Okay, if you want to do a pretty fraction, of course you can. It's up to you if you care about that. Oh, I put it in upside down, sorry. So it's second sign, and then I want the 5.9 to be on top, divided by 7 on bottom. Okay, so 58.939. B equals 58.93. Okay, now, quick question. If I want to find, go ahead. If you didn't use the long decimal, then it's fine. It's close enough. Let's actually round it off to a whole number for the degrees. What would 58.9 be most close to? Let's put 59 degrees. So put it up here in corner B. 59 degrees. Okay, now question. I could do another setup for me to solve for the third angle. Is there, though, an easier way? Yes, once I have two angles, how many do they all have to add up to? 180. So if you have two angles, don't do another big long problem. Just do 180 minus the other two, whatever's left over goes in the third corner. So I'm going to do 180 minus 59 and 88. 33 is left over for corner. So then I'll do 180 minus 59 and 88 means 33 degrees are left over for corner. Okay, and then remember, when you're solving, you should have all three sides, all three angles. All right, so come down to the next one. I think this is your last law of sines. Okay, it says triangle PQR. P is 18, Q is 46, R is 39. Okay, then it says here again, we're using capital letters for angles, lowercase letters for sides. So draw yourself a little triangle. Okay, remember, it doesn't have to be drawn to scale. We don't care about that. Oliver, can you put it away, please? So it's PQR. And then remember, those are capital letters because across from the capital letter is where the lowercase partner goes. So if this is big P, little p would go here. And how big is it in the question? What does it say? 18. Very good. So little p is 18. The next angle they give me is that capital Q is 46 degrees. That means that little q needs to go across from that. And then they give me capital R is 39, which tells me that little r goes across from it. Okay, from there, out of your P, your Q, and your R, which one do you already have both numbers for? Or is it none of them? None of them. But if I have two angles, how many angles do I really have? You really have all three. What do we need to do to find this angle here? 180 minus. Very good. So 180, take away 46, take away 39. Means that the third angle is 95 degrees. And now I have partners. Okay, but remember, we have to have a set of partners to use law of sines. So from here, let's do it. I'm going to do sine 95 over 18. Because remember, this is big P, this is little p, they're partners. And then do we want to find Q or R first? It doesn't matter. Okay, let's do Q first. So I'll do sine 46. And then I'll put it over little q. And then remember, you're gonna cross multiply. So sine 95 times q is gonna stay sine 95 times q. But then for the other diagonal, I can put it in the calculator because it doesn't have any like variable in it. So 18 times the sine of 46. 12.948. And then I'm going to divide the sine 95 across to get my q by itself. So 12.948 divided by sine 95. That gives me 12.997. We'll round that to 12.998. Okay, then let's say we know Q now, 12.998. Then the only side left that I need to find is R. And so when I do my setup for R, this left-hand side is going to stay exactly the same. But if I want to put a little r here, what do I have to put on top of it? Big R, which would be 39, correct. So my sine 95 over 18 stays the same. But if I want a little r on bottom, I have to sign big R on top, which is sine 39. And then you'll basically repeat the solving process the same way. So sine 95 times r is itself. 18 times the sine of 39 is something, 11.327, which will round to an 8. And then divide that sine 95 across. I want 11 divided by sine 95. That gives me 11.371. Okay, then if you look back at your triangle, you have all 3 angles, you have all 3 sides, then you're done. Questions on that? Okay, there's 2 rules that we're learning. The first one is law of sines. That's where you have to have partners. Okay, go ahead and turn the page. Law of cosines is when you don't have partners. So if you turn the page and look at the first triangle, okay, it says in triangle ABC, so let's just draw it here. I'm going to put A on top, which means that little a would go on bottom. And then I'm going to put B on bottom left. That means little b is top right, because they're always across from their partner. And then if I put big C down here, then little c goes over here. Once I have that listed, I see that my little b is a 4. C is 5. And then measure of angle A is 51. Now notice, if they'd given me a second angle, I could always find the third one, but if they only give me one angle, then really my hands are tied that I can't get partners here. So in this case, you would use law of cosines. Now, there are 3 versions of this. Really, they're all the same. It just depends what letter you're trying to solve for. So if you are solving for A, you're going to use the first one where it says A squared. If you're solving for B, use the second one. If you're solving for C, use the third one. So it tells me here, I want to find the length of side A. Then I'm going to use the top one. Go ahead and write it down. It's A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine. And then we're going to take our numbers, we're going to plug them in. Now remember, side A is what I'm looking for, so I'm going to keep my A squared the same. What will I plug in where the B is? 4 squared. What's my C? 5 squared. Minus 2, and then I'm going to reuse the B and the C, which was a 4 and a 5. Then cosine A, but it's a capital A, that's referring to the angle as how many degrees? 51. Then from here, type this whole side into the calculator in one go. Okay, don't break it down into little pieces, just type the whole thing. So it's a little bit uglier, but it's not too bad since you have a calculator. So 4 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 4 times 5 cosine 51. So I got 15.827.
It's not common when you're saying trying to give a test for the construction.
Oh, it's the math teacher chat.
So,
Where is the construction?
I have no idea. Probably in the comments area. Okay, then from there, if that's A squared, that's not my answer yet, right? What do I still need to do? Square root both sides. So in your calculator, do the square root button and then put your 15.8 inside it. Remember, you just push enter on it and I get 3.978. A is 3.978. Now, it doesn't say to find another side, but just to make sure you know how to do your homework, I am going to have you do it. let's say that you're asked to find angle B. Notice I'm using a capital B now. Do I need to use law of cosines again, or do I have partners that would let me do law of sines? Now we have partners. What letter do we know both for? A. Now we have a big A and a little a. That lets us go back to law of sines. So I would do the sine of 51 over 3.978. And then if I'm looking for angle B, I'm going to do sine big B over little b. What's little b? 4. And then I'll cross multiply and solve. So 3.978 times sine B is going to stay the same. But then the sine 51 times 4, I can put that one into my calculator. Make sure if you type the sine 51 first, you do have to close that parentheses before you times by 4. That gives me 3.109. What would my next step be? Well, we got to get rid of the 3.978 that's multiplied. How do we get rid of it? Divide it. So now I have the sine of B equals 3.109 over 3.978. And then in my last step, we talked about this last class. If I'm trying to solve for B and I need to get rid of sine, how do I do it? Inverse sine or second sine on the calculator. Okay. So my sine and my inverse sine cross out. And then whatever answer I get for that in the calculator, that'll be how big corner B is. So second sine, I want the 3.1 number divided by the 3.9 number. And I got 51 degrees. Now, if this angle is 51 and that angle is 51, could I easily find the third angle without one of these laws? Yeah, do 180 minus. Okay. All right, one more like that. Take a look at number 5. Okay, this one is going to be a little bit tricky, so I want you to do your best to stick with me on this question. So what you're going to notice is on this one, you have side, side, side. You don't have any angles. Okay, you're asked to find measure angle Z. I want you to pick the equation that starts with C squared, but let your C be the Z, okay? So it's going to be Z squared equals. A and B are now going to be X's and Y's. And then cosine Z. So your equation should look like that. Okay, so let's plug our numbers in. So I know my X is a 3, my Y is a 7, my Z is a 9. So let's put 9 squared here. X squared is going to be 3. Y is 7. 2, 3, 7. Cosine Z. And then remember, these two parentheses are always the same numbers that you put here and here. Okay, so if you have to solve for this
Why
number.
don't we put 9 for the word behind where it says TOFC?
Because this is a capital Z, which refers to the angle. This is a
They
lowercase.
look the same.
They do kind of look the same for Z. All right, not a great letter, but remember, this is a capital, this is a lowercase, okay? All right, so here's what I want you to do. When you're missing this number that goes right here, okay, I want you to underline 1, 2, 3. And then what I'm always gonna say is, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, okay? That's kind of stupid, just go with it. Okay, you're gonna put them in your calculator in that order. So just do the 9 squared. Tell me what you get. 81 equals. Then I want you to just do the 3 squared plus the 7 squared. Just the 3 squared plus the 7 squared. What do we get? 58. Minus, and then I just want you to times in the 2 times the 3 times the 7. So 2 times 3 times 7. What do we get there? 42 cosine Z. Okay, from here, I hate solving with my equals 81 on the left. So I'm gonna scribble it out and move it over to this side. So no more equals 81 here. We're gonna equals the 81 here, and we're gonna have to go through the steps to solve, but we covered this last time. How do I get rid of a 58 in the front? Subtract it. So I'm gonna minus 58 off both sides. Although you can't have that out during note time. Come on. So 81 take away 58. How many are we gonna get for that in your calculator? $81 take away 58, what's that? 23 is correct. Okay, now look at what I wrote down. Tell me if it's right or wrong. Forgot the negative, you gotta keep that there. Okay, from here, my cosine Z is multiplied by a negative 42. How do I get rid of it? Divide it. So negative 42, we're gonna divide that across. So that now cosine Z is negative 23 over 42. Now, if you want to keep the negative in the bottom, it doesn't matter, it's fine. But you can also just put it in the front. From here, how do I get rid of the cosine to solve for the Z? Inverse cosine. So in your calculator, do second cosine, and then on the fraction, negative 23 over 42. Negative 23 over 42. And you get 123. Point 204 degrees. Now, I'm not going to make you do it, but if you had to find another angle, let's say you wanted to find angle Y, do you have partners now that you could do the law of sines? Because now you know big Z and little z, that you should never have to do law of cosines more than once. Because once you do it the first time, then you have partners that you can use law of sines, which is a little bit easier. Okay? All right, the backside. Oh, we have another one. Dang it. Fine, we'll do one more. Do we need to, you want to do one more?
Let's go and get home with homework.
Should we?
No.
Okay, all right.
It's cracking.
All right, do your homework. Maybe we could do one of the hard ones together off the homework, or do you feel like you got it? Want to do one? On the homework? Okay, let me find which one it is.
Corner, can I go grab my card here? I have a bucket there.
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Yeah. What is it? Oh, I would love that. Thank you. Is your coach here for you? Oh, she can go. That's fine. She just finished the notes. All right, your homework's unlocked, so you should be able to access it now. And then the one I want you to set up that's kind of like one of the hard ones is second from the bottom. So just go ahead and skip to that question. Let's get those two out of the way. I'm just gonna do one of them with you, and then the other one, I think all your questions will be different. So it's second from the bottom once you're logged in. Now notice what angle, once you're into that question, what letter is it asking you to find? B. So then look off of this list, which one are we going to use? Top, middle, or bottom?
No.
Middle, because you want to start with the letter that you're finding. So write down on the back of your notes, since you have a little scratch paper there, B squared equals, and then it should be A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cosine big B. Okay, this is second from the bottom. Okay, let's plug in our numbers. What's letter B on this question?
7.1.
7.1 squared. What's letter A? Is that 1.9? And then C is 7.4. Minus 2, 1.9, 7.4 again. Cosine B. Okay, then remember, it's as easy as 1, 2, and 3. Okay, remember, you're going to type them into their calculator in groups, not all at the same time. Because we're having to find the B that's in the chaos over here. So we're going to find 7.1 squared. Y'all get 50.41. Okay. Then I'm doing 1.9 squared plus 7.4 squared. Chris, we're on the second to last question.
Oh, you're on the second floor.
2 times 1.9 times 7.4 is 28.12 cosine B. Okay, now look at that. What was our next step? What number did we move? Equals 50. Hate it there. Move it to the other side. So now it's a equals 50.41 over here. What is the next number that we moved to solve? The 58 or the 28? 58. How did we move it if it's a positive 58 right now? We minused it across. So minus 58.37 across. And I get 2812 cosine B equals. And then we'll subtract this in the calculator. It is okay if it comes out negative. So 50.41 minus 58.37, negative 7.96. Look at my work carefully. What's my mistake? Negative. That 28 was a negative 28. And the reason that matters is if I have a negative 28 in front of my cosine, I'm going to have to divide by it with the negative to cross it out. Then from there, I have my cosine B equals. I have that little fraction over there, negative 7.96 over negative 2812. Now, quick question here. It doesn't matter if you fix it or not, but if I have a negative divided with another negative, it's really a positive. But if you leave it like this, your calculator doesn't care. Then how do I get rid of the cosine in the calculator? Second cosine. Okay, or cosine negative 1, which is the inverse. So I'll do cos negative 1 here. Post -1 here. So second cosine, -7.96 divided by -28.12. Okay, I got 73.55. Okay, degrees. But then how does it say to type in your answer to the nearest what? Degree would be a whole number. So 73.5 would round up to 74 degrees in the box. Okay? Okay. But most of the law of cosines, you just type in the right side, take the square root. It's just if you need the letter in the chaos side. Okay. You can do it. Ask me if you need help.